Let us take a few moments to remind ourselves how incredibly fortunate we are to be in receipt of the Lord Buddha's teachings, and with immense gratitude, let's try and take a moment to worship the Supreme One, the infinitely compassionate One, the winner against defilements, the liberator of ignorance, the Supreme Buddha. And also, let us pledge allegiance that we are taking a path that is not to change the world, but to change us, to get rid of ignorance, so we can attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. By doing so, let's take a few moments to chant Namaskara 3 times, all together and with me. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. How is everyone? And how was your 2 days of holiday for most of you? Because last week we had elections. And so we closed the monastery on Saturdays and Sunday. And so you had a holiday. How was your holiday? Enjoyed your holiday? No? It's interesting. Because in the monastery, did we know there's an election? Yes. Did we feel an election? Kind of. No devotees, so felt it a bit. Did we feel a massive difference? No. It was very interesting because it's after the election, you once everyone starts coming back, you hear all this and go, oh, did you know this happened, that happened, this happened, this happened. And we're just sitting there thinking, okay, thank you very much. We now know. I think it's I'd like to say a very Sri Lankan thing, politics. As in, no, worldwide politics is a massive thing. However, I know through experience that Sri Lankan's culture is intertwined with politics. To the extent that when many people come together, especially at parties, instead of enjoying themselves and doing whatever they want to do, they sit down and they talk about politics. If I was president, I would do this, I would do that, these roads will be better. And I've seen this, and I have been a victim of it when parents come together, and uncles especially come together, and they'll start discussing about the politics of Sri Lanka, even though they are they know 100% that none of them will become the president in this life. And I don't think they'll make a big difference at all. But it gave me a question. The whole idea of control. Now, here's the thing. Imagine one day, you wake up one morning and you find, and let's say something's happened and therefore you are no longer alive. Right? So you're in, say, almost like a ghost form. You have no physical body, right? So you don't know if you have arms or legs, right? You're in a almost spirit form. And someone gives you a choice, or someone gives you the chance They take you to, say, a table, and they show you a list of rules. And they ask, okay, these are the rules of the world that you are going to live in. You can either turn these rules on or off. You can either turn these rules on or off. So basically, you decide how the world works. Do you think that is easy? So I don't mean like physical, like, gravity or whatnot. I mean, laws of a country, laws internationally, rules. If you really put it into perspective, making your own rules and laws become incredibly difficult, especially when you don't know the form that you will be in. For example, imagine next life you were born without an arm. You don't know that. But if your rules have something that's going against you, then we face an issue. Or if I was to make this question better, what is fairness? What is it to be fair? Because this is something that we always look for. We always say, everything has to be fair. But if they have a chance, I should have an equal chance. And everything needs to be fair. But then what is fair? How would you define what fair is? Because when you really look at the ins and outs of fairness, you start to realize that it isn't something that we can actually do much about. All right, let me explain. If I was, let's take some scenarios, and you tell me whether it's fair or not. So let's say scenario A, right? We have two people, right? For argument's sake, this is Y and this is Z, right? Y and Z are in. All right, let's take this example. Let's say Y and Z are at a party, right? Y and Z are at a party, or maybe even at a bar. Both of these people, right? They consume alcohol and they're both drunk. Person Y, something happens, they have an argument. Person Y comes and, say, punches person Z. Right? Normally what happens is, if that happens, people get thrown out of places and they say to go home. Fair? It's fair. Okay, that's how it is. We can say that's fair. Scenario B. If we were to put scenario B and say, this is W and this is X. Same scenario meaning same place. They consume the same amount of alcohol. They're still under the influence. However, when person W takes a punch, X falls to the floor, hits their head. Person X falls to the floor, hits their head, goes to hospital, and then, unfortunately, due to the force on their head, dies that very day. Person W, therefore, has committed what? Murder or manslaughter. So person W goes to jail. Well, person Y and person W did the same thing. Did the absolute same thing. Say they both of them punched at 100 newtons. We'll be very scientific, right? They did the same thing, 100 newtons. Luckily for Z was somehow able to take 100 newtons, stumble back, but was okay. Whereas person X wasn't able to handle it, falls to the floor, hits their head on the wall, let's say, and then goes to hospital and is pronounced dead same day. Person Y goes home, okay. Person W goes to jail. Is that fair? Is that fair? Well, both 100 newtons. Well, okay, we say it's at the same time or same place. Everything else is the same. The only difference is that they can't control the outcome of their actions, but they get punished nonetheless. Is that fair? Okay, let's take another scenario. Scenario C. Let's say we have person B, we have person U. Same scenario, same thing, no difference. However, when person U decides to make it physical, instead of, say, so again, 100 newtons, right? Planning to get 100 newtons, right? Right, so we get the Newton meter out and you're trying to test this out. But the moment they decide to make it physical, the fire alarm rings. The fire alarm rings. Therefore, both of these people, they go home, safe and sound. But Y, W, and U all had the idea to do this exact same thing, 3 different outcomes. Is it fair? Is it fair that this person goes to jail? Is it fair that this person goes home with nothing? And this person goes home with being banned from coming to wherever he was. Is that fair? Okay, one more scenario. Just one more. We'll make it similar to B. We have person S and T, right? Again, 100 newtons, not making anything different. 100 newtons, hits person T. Person T falls to the floor, hits their head, goes to hospital, and is pronounced dead. However, person S, before they were sent to jail, person S, doctors and lawyers had come together and in the court had pronounced that S has been diagnosed with several, say for example, bipolar, right? Can no longer control her actions or his or her actions. And so person W spends, I don't know, how much do you get for, how many years do you get for manslaughter? We'll say 50 years. Anyone know? Do you know how many years you get in jail if you kill a man? How many? 20? Okay. 20 years. However, person S spends the next 10 years in an asylum or in a hospital trying to help with medication or whatnot. See, all scenarios, we have the same thing. All scenarios are very similar. However, so every time the person on the left, right, has the same situation, does everything the same, how the outcome is different. Okay, can you control the outcome? So think about this. You was about to do the same thing that B was going to do. Same thing that A was going to do. The only difference was that the fire alarm went. Can you control the fire alarm? So this is talking about almost chance or almost probability. There's a chance for the person to, the fire alarm to ring and everything to be fine. There's a chance for them to go to jail. There's a chance for them to go to the health ward, and we have a chance for them to go home banned from the place. So if I was to ask you, which one is fair? Which one is fair? Can we give a good solution for this? Okay, you start making rules and laws. You are the lawmaker of the place. How would you control, or how would you put rules and things to make this fair? Can you be fair? Because this is basically how what works. How what works. What is this like? This is like karma. So this is basically karma. Because each time the person has an idea, right? They've got angry, right? Due to their own ignorance. They've gotten angry. Then they throw a punch. However, they can't control the outcome. They can't control the outcome. The outcome could be just hitting, murder or manslaughter, nothing, or going to a mental asylum. How does that work? Because karma isn't only about what you do. We are our intention is only 50% of the equation. What our intentions are. So I thought that it was not going to do any harm, right? However, the outcome is also dependent on what vipaka, what the world puts in place as well. For example, all these people had the idea of giving a punch. However, due to their causes, different outcomes have come into play. Whether it was just being kicked out, whether it was being thrown in jail, or whether it was nothing at all. Each and every one of these are dependent on their outcome, because our actions are only one part of the equation. The other part is what vipaka chooses for us. Or you can't say it chooses, because why? That means vipaka can choose to or not to. Oh, that's how it is. For example, you can have the idea of giving, but can you control who you give it to? In your head, you can have the simple answer and say, oh yes, of course I can control that. I can control who I give it to. I can either give it to him or her or them or those people or these people, and you can think, you can decide. However, when you have the idea of giving, you only take the idea of what? Giving to someone. But the other end, that changes. Who's on the other end? That changes. For example, you are giving to who? Let's say you're giving it to a person. Depending on the qualities of the person, your merits will differ. What do I mean? If you were to give it to, say, a normal person, That's something. You give it to someone who's on the path, practicing the path, who is trying to help, who is trying to salvate themselves from suffering and suffering of others. Now, merit increases. You give it to an arahant. Merit increases. You give it to a Pacceka Buddha or a silent Buddha. Again, the merit increases. You give it to the Supreme Buddha. Again, the merit increases. Do you control who is receiving? Can you ever control who is receiving? We can't. We can't control who is receiving. The only thing we can do, again, in inverted commas, the only thing that we can do is know who or have this, our intentions to be pure. So having the idea of giving, we can do that. But who we give it to, we can't control. See? Let's give another scenario. Scenario E. A child gets angry, right? Child gets angry and hits their mother. Mother goes and falls down, hits their head, and passes away. That's unfair, right? As in, what is the effect of that? What is the result of that? What deed have they committed? They have committed one of the 5 heinous crimes, heinous acts. However, the child, you can say, well, the child didn't think that they wanted to hurt or harm or kill their mother. However, it doesn't matter it doesn't matter if they had thought it or not. What matters is what? If they had the idea of harming and who they harm. Both those put together gives you the effect. Now you can say that's so unfair. Like the child only got angry. I mean, children, they get angry. We all know that, right? We've all seen children get very angry and they say things and do things that they don't know they're doing. However, what is fair? What is fair? When the causes come together, the effect manifests. No matter what it is, that is fair. Because all that's happening is that karma or the vipaka that needs to have happened will take its place. You are hungry. Someone gives you food. Why did the person give you food? Why did another person give you food? I mean, look, say there are 30 of us in this room. Why did the person decide to give it to one of the 30? Because in that mind, you had the mind to receive. That person or that mind had the idea to give. All that Vipaka does is connect those dots and say, here, take it. And it says, play this out. If you didn't have the Vipaka to be given or to receive, no matter how strong someone wants to give, can they give it to you? But is that fair? See, fair is always subjective. Subjective to who? Fair is always subjective. Subjective to who? Who is it subjective to? You see, I remember long ago, I remember learning this amazing quote. And it was given by, of course, one of the most famous physicians, Albert Einstein, of course. And he gives this amazing quote saying, A human being is a part of the whole that we call the universe. Limited by space and time, that's his theory, limited by space and time. But what he thinks and feels, well, his thoughts and feelings, he feels to be separate from all the rest. And he asks, well, isn't this, he calls it an optical delusion of the human consciousness? Because once we start to personalize this and we say, oh, this is who someone I know, or this is a person. Now, this is not fair. Always this fairness or unfairness is always dependent on you. That's why, they say doctors can never nurse their children. You've heard this, right? Doctors should never nurse their children. Why? Why is that? Because they always personalize the problem. So what do they do? The child has a cough. But out of the love and compassion the mother or father feels, what do? Is it a cough? Do you have the cold, the flu? Oh wait, let's just give you a tetanus shot just to be safe, even though it's nothing to do with it. But out of that love and compassion, because why? They've personalized it, because they want to be what? Fair and just, and say that, this is my child. However, when it comes to someone they don't know, well, they ask, are you sure you're sick? Like, are you sure? Is that a cough, or are you faking the cough? You sure you need antibiotics for this? I don't think so. I think you could just have some warm water. You'll be fine. Because we all know that the antibiotics, doctors are told to prescribe less and less antibiotics, because we're losing the race against bacteria. So they're asked to prescribe less and less, but for their own child. Because why? They've personalized the problem. They want to be fair and just, and they feel that, oh, my child shouldn't suffer, but they always see it in the eyes, in their own eyes, using their own eyes. A great example that came up when I was having discussion with some other people was, imagine someone, say, person Y had hit person Z. We feel that to be wrong. And we say that this person Y is a horrible person, right? They should be kicked out. However, imagine, I don't know, person Z was walking, just randomly walking. And as they were walking, a tree twig fell onto their head. Is the tree bad? I mean, look, person Y had hit person Z. Oh no, that's terrible, horrible people, right? Oh God, we don't want to be there. Person Y, they should be kicked out. I don't want my children to see this. But if the twig falls onto someone's head, now what? Now do we feel the same thing? Oh, that tree is horrible. Everyone, let's avoid the tree. Take your distance. Children, don't look at the tree. Do we feel that? No, because why? We feel that, okay, this is not right, but that's okay. But in reality, what is the difference? For person Z, that viparka has taken place. You can almost say it's exactly the same. They both felt pain. Body, touch comes into contact, a mind arises. Same thing for person Y. When person Y hits, Same thing when the tree branch twig falls. Same thing. However, we feel it to be different because why? Person Y is what? Separate from the whole. Separate from this whole that we call universe. Person Y is human. See, when it comes to this idea, what we have to remember is that everything around us is when the causes come together, do we have a manifestation? We cannot control that. A conversation that you'll hear very often, especially at the monastery, is, these people, they used to come to listen to these sermons every single day, and then one day they stopped. Look, it's because of this and because of that, it's because of this and because of that. And they give 101 reasons. They give 101 reasons saying that, okay, this happened because of this. No. When causes came together, they came and listened to the Dhamma. When the causes no longer come together, then can they listen to the Dhamma? No. So my mother was saying, I was talking with her a couple of days back, and she was saying, so we have to do something to your sisters. We have to get them involved, right? Get them to understand the Dhamma, right? But it's because of your father that that he forced them to listen to sermons. Now they don't. I said, oh, mother, you're wrong. Why don't they listen to Dhamma? Is it their fault? Causes haven't come together to give the manifestation. So what should we do? Try to make the causes. Should we care whether it works or not? Put the causes together. So for example, like she says, right, she wanted me to again thank all of you as well, because she says, every single day, she was telling me from the day she left the monastery to the last day I talked to her, every single day her mind will be at the monastery. She said she's never had a dream outside the monastery, right, after that day. And that's all thanks to all of you. And she was saying that, like now I don't get to listen to these sermons, right? I don't know what's going to happen to me. And I said, Amma, mother, merits, and merits. What do I mean? When the causes come together, do we have a manifestation? If the causes aren't coming together, what does that mean? What does that mean? If the causes aren't coming together, what does that mean? So what should we do? No, it's because of this, it's because of that I can't come right now. No. Why not? The causes haven't come together to give you the manifestation. If the causes came together, can you stop the manifestation? So all of these are what? The manifestation that arises due to the causes. Whether we think it's fair or not, that is entirely to do with subjective. Oh, it's unfair that that I can't be in the monastery, or it's fair that it's really unfair that you're at the monastery that I'm not. No. It's not like that. When the causes come together, do we have a manifestation? Fair or not fair? That is entirely subjective. Subjective to who? To you. Depending on who you think or what you think, oh, that's fair, that's not fair. However, that's not how the world works. The world doesn't work because it's fair to you. The world is always fair. When fuel, oxygen, and temperature come together, a fire manifests. Is that fair? Of course. If fuel, oxygen, and temperature comes together and there's no fire, now we can say, the world is not fair. But you can never manifest a fire without the causes. So the world will always be fair. The more we understand about the cause and effect nature, the more we realize what? The world is fair. Today I wasn't able to offer to give alms to how to say, in the midday alms. I wasn't able to offer alms in the Dhammaquestions. That's very unfair. Is it? Is that so? The causes came together to give a manifestation. That manifestation is always fair. It was always fair. We can't control that. But what can we do? Control the what? We feel we can control the causes. Well, all we can do is all I can do is nothing. Oh, actually, I can do one thing. Something that is common with all human beings, or with all selves, right? Is what? What can you do? You can do one thing, and only one thing. What is that? All we can do is just suffer. That's the only thing that we can do. However, when the cause is aligned, do we have a manifestation which is fair? See, we have to come to this understanding of what is fair or not. At that moment, what is happening is what is the most fairest thing. It is the fairest thing that can happen in that moment. That's why it happened. Can something happen which is void of causes? Now, we have to understand that we're dealing with human minds here. I think now most of you, after listening to so many sermons, you know that we're dealing with human minds. And you know how you can say how fickle the human mind is? Or how fickle, not human, how fickle the mind is. So there'll be times when you'll see minds around you and your own mind do things that you later think, why did that happen? So let's take a very common thing, right? A very common idea that you can get into your head, right, is your teacher tells you to do something. Do I have to? Say, for example, your teacher has told you to write down one dhamma point a day. Do I have to? Do I really need to? If I do that, I won't be able to, do all these other stuff. Do I have to do that? Or something that can happen is, you think, because again, we have to remember that we're talking about human minds. Human minds, depending on the cause, will change. For example, when the conditions have given rise to an effect that we call anger, when the conditions come together to give an effect that we call anger, just try to see what the mind is trying to do at that moment. Try to look for the simplest solution out. For example, someone has said something and you're hurt. You become angry. What does your mind do? Look for the simplest solution out. I feel hurt, so what should I do? I should make the other person feel hurt as well. No? Is that not how that happens? Yes. Or, you'll see this with we tend to give this attribute to young children. However, Adults do the same thing. And that is, someone's told you to do something and you're angry at that person. So you don't do it and you do something opposite. And, you tell a child, right? Say, puta or dua, go and clean your room. And instead of cleaning their room, what do? Sometimes when they're angry at you, what do? They start dropping things on the floor. Why? To make you angry. Why they do that is because when they're angry, because when we feel anger or desire, when we feel this a massive amount of vexation build up inside of us, we always look for the simplest solution out. Always try to look for a way to relieve that vexation. To say, oh, okay, nothing's happened. Okay, I want to get rid of all this pressure as much as possible, as soon as possible. And only then do you realize, only afterwards do you come to your senses and realize, oh, I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have said that. That's why later on we start regretting and we feel guilty. Why did I say that? I shouldn't have said that. I should have told my teachers, I no longer need your help. I shouldn't have said that. I said that because I was upset. I said that because I was angry. Now we have to come to the understanding that, well, this is fair. You have to come to see the fairness of the world. You have to realize how fair the world is. Do you think an arahant will ever come and say, that's unfair? That's wrong. No. They will say things are wrong, but will they ever say things are unfair? It was unfair for this to happen. It was unfair for that to happen. They have realized that everything around them is what cause and effect. So they don't have it's their fairness isn't subjective. Instead, causes come together to give rise to what? Causes come together to give rise to what? Is that fair or not? Now we live in, everything around us is what? Fair. I was pushed over by X and Y. Or person Z had taken my money. That's unfair. They stole from me. Okay. Let me also say this, right? This doesn't mean that, X shouldn't be thrown into jail. T shouldn't go to the... I'm not trying to change society here. I'm not trying to say that, people shouldn't be punished for it when they do something wrong. Fairness and unfairness in society is not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about how you feel. Someone stole money from you. In reality, what is this? Causes come together to give rise to an effect. That is fair. However, in society, unfortunately, they did something wrong. So what should you do? Phone the police and file a complaint saying that someone's taken my money. Please do that. I don't want anyone to come out today and say, no need for police. We can solve all problems by ourselves. No. Again, we're talking about a feeling here. Fairness, the feeling of fairness, not societal fairness. Because if we come to the idea that, everything is fair, so if I take this knife and I stab a person, that is also fair. I don't go to jail because why? It's the causes that come together to give the manifestation. So I shouldn't go to jail. Instead, the person should understand, the dying person should understand that everything's cause and effect. It's their fault. No. Like we this is not to change anything here. I just want to change your idea of fairness. Because lots and lots of people have this idea that saying that, life is unfair. right? It'll always be unfair, no matter how old you get. When you're young, you have to do exams, and exams are unfair. When you're old, you do a job, and jobs are unfair. No. When the causes come together, we get to we perceive a manifestation, and that manifestation is always what? Fair. Is always fair. We have to come and really truly understand that. So this is still talking about, there's a me, right? And that is fair. Meaning that, okay, things are happening to me and everything that's happening to me is fair. That is also what? Incorrect. See, we have to truly understand what is actually happening. So basically, Albert Einstein, if he knew what he was talking about, and if he had 100% understanding of what he was talking about, this guy, he's probably in an anagami or an arahant if he realizes that, human beings are part of the whole. What does it mean, the part of the whole? What is the whole? What we call a universe, which is what? Nature. Unfortunately, afterwards, he does go on and say how unfair things are, but that's beside the point. Because we have to really understand that everything's happening is just what? Even if you took just physics in general, I take this pen and I throw the pen. In physics in general, right? If we took physics in the most basic form, can I throw a pen? No. Why? Because you have what? Light energy turns into chemical energy in what? In plants, and then plants go into animals, and animals and plants go into this. This gives chemical energy. Chemical energy becomes kinetic energy. Kinetic energy goes and hits, makes contact with, again, more chemical energy, sends a chemical energy down, more energies, and then energy is felt. And when energy is felt, the mind perceives pain. Even if we would just talk just physics, you realize that everything here is what? Just a flow of what? Nature here. That everything here is fair. What? Is kinetic energy unfair? Is light energy unfair? Is sound energy... Oh, sound energy is horrible, right? Like, we have to hear this voice for the next 2 hours. It's unfair, right? No, sound energy, light energy, kinetic, nuclear energy. Bad? Unfair? No, the causes come together to give rise to a manifestation. Even if you looked at just pure physics, you see that everything's just what? A flow of nature. And it's really interesting, even when we talk about the physical, the physics of the world, you really do see that everything is just a flow of energy. Because that's what physics is. Physics is the flow, or trying to understand nature. Science is basically trying to understand nature, to see that it's just a flow of nature. So what is really interesting is that when you try to see the flow of nature, that this idea of we have to get rid of this idea of unfairness. Now, I want to take an example, and for this example, I have something. The kitchen loves me, right? I have this. Now, the reason why I wanted to bring this is very, very interesting. I'll tell you what happened to me the other day, right? I had the great fortune of going and helping out in the kitchen, right? Now, back at home, I was banned from the kitchen. The only thing I could do in the kitchen was cut the onions, for good reasons, I had understood, and cut the potatoes. Those are the only two jobs I had back at home. Here, right, I have more liberty and I could do other stuff. So I was given the job of cutting what? I have more. Wait, I got two types here. Got a red one and a green one. Two beautiful colors. I had a job of cutting chilies, right? Now, I don't know if you've ever had the experience, right? So I was cutting it, and we have so in the monastery we had a feed over 500, 600 people. So not just one chili here we're talking about few hundreds of chilies, right? It was all in a bowl. And it was in a really big bowl. I wanted to transfer it into a smaller bowl. So what do? I do the most humane thing. I get the bowl, I use my hand and scoop it all out. Now, if you've ever have any experience with chilies, what you'll realize is, obviously I realized then there, that after a while, right, your hand starts to burn. Like it's on fire. Like it feels as though it's burning. Like there's your hand is on fire. And luckily it wasn't too hard, right? Luckily I survived, right? Nothing happened. I'm still physically okay. Mentally traumatized, but however, beside the point. Cutting the chilies, I came to realize this. So this is a question I've always had, right? Growing up in a different sort of culture, chilies used to be an enemy, right? Amma and Tata, my parents and my little sister, the little one, right? She would eat, they will eat tons of chili, right? And for those of you who've eaten very Sri Lankan dishes, literally half of the dish is basically just chili. And I was someone who did not like it. So I'd always ask Amma, no, we don't want sarela. We want normal food, please. And so I've always had this question, why do people like eating chilies? I mean, it's physically painful. Physically as in in your tongue and also in your hand. But then if you really look at it, right? So this gave me a very good contemplation time, right? Especially as my hand was burning. Because I remember learning in school about the tongue. The tongue can taste what? Salt, sour. What else? Bitter, sweet. Anything else? Anything else? Umami. But I've never heard it can taste spice, how spicy something is. Never have heard that. And that's because your tongue can't taste spice. Your tongue can't taste how spicy something is. Because what is your tongue actually tasting? So these chilies, they have a chemical called capsaicin. And this capsaicin, right, is just a chemical. I can't remember its exact chemical formula, like C20 something and H another something, but it's chemicals, right, made out of all this. Throughout your body, we have heat receptors. Eating this, or if we were to take that chemical, right, capsaicin, and put it on the skin, or put it on this receptor, all it does is what? It activates that receptor. It activates that receptor, and the body goes into a complete shock, right? Thinking, oh my God, my mouth is burning, my hands are burning, I'm burning up, although it's just a chemical. Actually, this is not poisonous. It is not something that, is toxic to the body. As in, this does no harm to you. However, when you eat it, it stimulates these heat receptors, and therefore, what do you feel? Your body starts to feel that it's becoming really hot. You start to sweat. You start to tear up, right? When you fry chili powder and it goes in your nose, right? The next 5 minutes you're sneezing your head off. Now, again, because why? What that's happening is there's a receptor, right? So imagine, okay, worms, what do you call those? Not termites, maggots, slugs, parrots. If you were to give a slug to eat this, a slug is made out of complete just flesh. Do you think it will eat this? Do you think a slug will eat this? No, right? Because it's really hot, right? No matter what, this is burning us, right? However, those of you who garden will know. Slugs don't care. Slugs don't really care about whether we find it hot or not. Because why? Slugs don't have what? There are some parrots that their diet is just peppers. Their diet is just peppers. So imagine we had a diet of just peppers. The next morning we are gone. However, these parrots, these animals, some animals don't have this receptor, and therefore, do they say this is hot? They don't. So these receptors, when it comes into contact with this so-called capsaicin, it sends a signal down the nerves into the brain, and this brain translates this signal to be, this is hot. This receptor is there for our own safety, you can say. Is to make sure we don't have something or feel something too hot. When we do, our body tries to react to it. So even something that we find to be really spicy, the spiciness isn't in the chili. The spiciness is something that is entirely what? Something that we perceive. Now, there was a study done, right? There's a study done. For example, right, my little sister, right, she could eat more chili than I could. I don't know about now, but I could tell you before. She could eat way. She was less affected by this. Well, no, she has built a tolerance. Because after a while, these senses start to, when they're overly stimulated, what our body does is, we don't want to be overstimulated. Let's shut some of these down. That's why, that's why really I remember when I used to go to, say, my grandmother's house or your relative's house and they've got really old people, they have the most spiciest things. Like, I don't know how they can tolerate it. It's because why? They have their senses aren't giving them such a strong signal. Now, if we were to take this in a very, again, with the flow of nature or with the flow of energy, what is this? What is really happening? What is spice? What is spiciness? Or what is hotness? It is very strange to think of it like this. We have light energy. Now, you guys have to tolerate my drawing skills, right? Because I am Picasso in another world. Looks like a butterfly. Just saying the red is a chili, right? Just so you know. If you look at the world as energy, what is really happening is light energy gets turned into what? Turns into chemical energy, right? Gets turned into chemical energy. Now, say we pick the chili, we cut it. Oops. We cut it and we make an amazing dish, right? I don't know. Something very spicy. Now, for us to have made the dish, you see, now we have to go to two levels here. Again, we made the dish, but in the eyes of energy, what has happened? In the eyes of energy, what has happened? Well, it's changed. It's become what? More kinetic energy has come into place, chemical energy has come into place. You put it into a pot and pan, you boil it, and different energies have come into contact, and this is the outcome. Causes come together, you get the outcome. Then you have the tongue. The tongue is also what? No, it's matter, which is what? Chemical energy. Right? You take some of this, you put it on tongue. Now what? Now we have a sensor, right, which is sensing, being stimulated by this chemical called capsaicin, and then it sends a signal down to the brain via the neurons. Now, I'm not going to draw a brain because I don't want to shock you with my artistic skills. So instead, we're going to write a box. So, the brain box. So again, what's happening is a signal has been sent across, and the brain interprets the signal to be what? Hot. Sends that signal to the mind, and the mind is now perceiving what? Burning. However, this receptor is strange. Strange in the fact that there are different types of receptors. For low heat to extreme heat, right? This is like middle to high. So the middle to high receptors are tingling. However, the ones that are on the low on the spectrum aren't, because there's no fire at all. So it gives us weird, it's not a complete fire burning. That's why we call it, it's very hot. Because the receptors are giving this feeling that what? It is hot. Or actually, receptors are just giving this idea, this is giving signals saying, oh, I have been triggered. I have been triggered. The brain takes it and says, oh, this is hot. But this capsium has no effect on your body. Has no harmful effect on your body. It's just sending signals. It's just a chemical. But yet you say that no, this chilies are hot. I either like chilies or I don't like chilies. Because why? Chilies are hot. Are chilies hot? No, it's just a chemical that triggers a receptor that gives rise to this feeling of, oh, this is hot. So I have two different types of chilies here. If we chemically broke these down, you'll find what? I can't remember the name for this chili. Someone help me out here. Capsicum? Oh, it's got a very good name. What about this chili? Just a red chili. Good. You will never see one, say for example, the capsium chemical, right, in this and the capsium chemical in this. Are they different? Is this have a special red chili capsium and this got a capsium? Is that how it works? No, this has the same chemical. However, you feel that no, these two are two different what? Chilies with two different levels of what? Hotness. But in reality, both of these have the same chemical. I don't know, which one's more spicy? The red one? The red one? You tell me, you know more than me about this. Red one's more spicy? Okay, the red one's more spicy. Why is it more spicy? It just has more what? To trigger more what? For the brain to feel more what? Not that this is more hot than this. It has more chemicals to trigger, more receptors to trigger a higher sense of feeling of hot in the brain. Do you see, even like when you see the world as if you see the world through the eyes of physics, did light energy become pain energy? Do we have pain energy involved here? Tell me, which one is pain energy? Is chemical energy pain energy? Is light energy pain energy? What is pain energy? Pain energy isn't an energy. It's what? A perception that what? The mind feels. So if a human was born without this, how spicy? Well, which one is spicier? The red one. Of course it's the red one. Right? Everyone finds the red one, so it should be the red one. Is that so? See, once you really realize this, you go find it really hard to eat. Why? You can no longer enjoy the spiciness, the spicy taste. And then I realized, in most spicy dishes, you have a milk element to it. So for example, in Sri Lankan spicy dishes, we always add what? Coconut milk. Coconut milk is our baseline for everything. And that's because milk does the opposite of spice. It has a chemical called casein, right? Another chemical, which, let's just do this again, which when it comes involved, right, when you take it, it's able to take the capsium out of the receptors. Therefore, you no longer feel spice. So our ancestors had found the cure for hotness, but they still wanted to feel hotness, but not too much hotness, so they added milk to it. coconut milk to it. And so it gives a almost cooling effect, or a you no longer feel it to be as spicy as it is. That's why, dear children, right, and anyone who hates spice, you should never drink water when having spicy things, because all you're doing is you're taking this chemical and spreading it all around your mouth. It becomes worse, because this is non-polar, and well, we don't want to get to science of that, but that's why they say to have milk or ice cream or yogurt. That's why. So again, we're talking, if we come to see the world to be like this constant transfer of energy. Now, you can't eat a chili without understanding what? Causes come together. This is a change of energy from one place to another, to give us a perception of what? Spice. Now, this is the same with bitter. So, things that are bitter, the reason why we have, what scientists say, the reason why we have this taste of bitter is to help us not eat anything that is like maybe poisonous, because poisonous things are supposed to be what? Bitter. So naturally, so you can find, again, this is the same thing with bitter, same thing with sweet, same thing with sour. Again, on the tongue, all there is different receptors. Different receptors that can pick up different things. So for example, I have one more thing. Yeah, last week we had an orange, I felt sorry, we should have a lime or lemon as well. Lime, lemon, either way. Now, again, you put this on your tongue and you feel what? Sour. Is hotness a characteristic of pepper or of chilies? And is sourness a characteristic of lemons and limes? Is it? See, the kitchen loves me. That's why I was able to thankfully get enough props for today's sermon. So again, why do we feel this to be sour? Same thing. Just like the tongue has receptors, right? And that's why, when you have chili, luckily I was told beforehand not to touch my eyes, but I have seen people after they have chili, they do touch their eyes, and that is one of the worst things you can possibly do, right? And anyway, once you have chili, it gives rise to these, because it feels as though your body is burning, because the brain has interpreted this chemical to be burning, therefore sweating to cool off the burning, right? And then you have this like tears, like snot, right? And all this happens because the body has interpreted that we're burning here, right? Save yourself, we're burning. But actually, these aren't burning at all. The temperature in this doesn't change by adding peppers or chilies to food. You don't rise the temperature of the food. Now now sour. Sour is also a very interesting taste. Why? Because are lemons sour? Are lemons sour? Again, same thing as well. There are receptors on the tongue That can taste what? That can taste what? Taste sour? Can it taste sour? Can it perceive sour? Can your tongue perceive sour? The mind can perceive sour. What can your tongue do? Just send a receptor, and we'll call this a receptor, can send a signal down a neuron to the brain that translates that to, oh, it's sour. So basically, what is sour? Sour is, so in chemistry, you learn that sour is acids, and acid is just basically a H plus ion just moving down. So it's a good question, right? What do you think sulfuric acid tastes like? H plus ions, has lots of that. So it should taste what? Sour? Well, before you can taste it, it's already done this damage. Again, the taste of sour is basically your tongue's ability to taste H plus ions. That's it. Sour comes from these H plus ions. So if we artificially gave you H plus ions, what would you taste? So is lemon sour? Okay, then you know what we do is we cut these both together, we mix them together, and we make what? Right? You add some coconut scrapings as well. Now what do you have? What do you have now? You have one of the most famous dishes in Sri Lanka. We have what? Sambol. Oh, coconut sambal. Coconut salad? Okay, coconut salad then. Now you take this. Now you take some of you take these, you cut them, and you put them together. Put some coconut. I'm not a good chef, right? But you tell me, right? You take some coconut, you cut these two. You don't add this, do you? I don't know. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. You add chilies, right? You add coconut, you add some lime, lemon, and you have po sambal or coconut sambal, right? One of the most interesting dishes in Sri Lanka. Simple and interesting. We place that on the tongue. What is happening? What is happening? Your tongue tastes sambal, right? 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 Your tongue has to taste. I mean, we've always learned the tongue tastes, the eyes can see, right? The tongue tastes the sambal, right? If the tongue can't taste sambal, what is the purpose of the tongue? To? See, do you know how important saliva is? Forget its other importance. But for taste, saliva is very, very essential. Because what does it do? It gives us a medium to spread out. So this with saliva, right? You chew it around and whatnot, and it spreads across the entire tongue, or some of the tongue. So what happens then? What happens then? Then receptors all over the tongue starts to ping information. Oh, I've been stimulated. It goes to the brain. The brain comes up and gives it, makes it feel. Sends it to the mind, and the mind says, I'm eating sambola. It tastes amazing, or not enough salt, or too much salt. Either way. So what is this? What is actually happening here? Are you tasting sambola? Can your tongue taste food? Can your tongue taste food? Can you taste food? Everyone's shaking their heads. Of course. No, you can only perceive. The mind can only perceive. This is very interesting. Very interesting. Because you will never be able to ever taste how spicy this is. You will never be able to taste how sour this is. You will never be able to taste, how great the sambola is. Right? You'll never be able to taste that. Because what are you perceiving? Now, we've all experienced this. Now, I think we also talked about, we may have touched upon this last time as well, but we thank COVID for the inability to not be able to taste, right? You hear what people are saying, they're like, because of COVID, I have lost the sense of taste. Like, I can no longer taste how amazing my sambola is, right? It's all COVID's fault. Is it COVID's fault? Let's all go and blame COVID. Curse COVID for taking away our, tongue? No, what is this? Causes come together to give this manifestation. So the sense of taste is also what? Cause come together, have a manifestation. Well, I remember once I helped Amma cook, right? One of the first times I helped Amma cook. She added salt, right? She added salt to whatever she was making. Many years back, I can't remember what she was making. She added salt and she left the pot unattended. That's okay, because we are all very responsible people. However, we all see our mothers and other people, they take the spoon and they dip it in the curry, they put it in their hand, and then they taste the salt, the curry. Now, what Amma forgot to do was to stir, right? Because she's gonna stir afterwards. But I, being very curious, took the spoon, put it in my hand, and licked it. And all I tasted was what? Salt. It was the saltiest thing. And I remember from that moment onwards, whatever she made, I would be very skeptical, because I don't know whether it was the thing that she made before with all of this salt. However, when she mixed it, it tastes like food, right? It was good food, right? However, because the bit that I was able to taste had more salt than the rest, I tasted to be what? But is the curry the same taste? That gives us a question, right? Have you ever tasted the entire curry? Have you ever tasted all of the curry? Let's say the sour tastes all go down to the bottom of the pot, for example. Now, when you taste it, would you taste the sourness? Those of you who have prepared, I don't know why today is about food. It must be because of the the chilies. Like, if you prepared what's it called? dry fish, right? What you realize is you should never put salt beforehand. Some of us have learned that the hard way. That you should never put salt beforehand. Only after you put the dried fish should you add extra salt. Because why? Fish gives more what? Salt. So again, if I asked, is the dried fish salty? Is it salty? Okay, today you're gonna, today I'm preparing you for today's meal, right? Who knows? I may have, I wasn't in the kitchen yesterday, but maybe they've added too much salt or too much chilies or too much lemons and limes. You may find it too sour, salty, bitter, right? So I'm preparing you for that, don't worry. But you will never be able to taste food. Your absolute favorite food. That one food that you always go to for comfort. Whether it's sweet or sour, whether it's savory, whether it's a piece of chocolate, whether it's Skittles, you will never be able to taste it. Only thing you'll be able to do is what? Perceive. The only thing you'll be able to do is perceive. We're stuck, aren't we? We're stuck. Because why? You will never be able to taste your favorite food ever again. It's all my fault, I'm sorry. But honestly, you've never tasted in the first place. See, the tongue, so as you are consuming a meal, this is what should be going through your head. So the last couple of weeks we've been talking about who's eating, how's eating, and why am I eating. Because if you had why I'm eating is because it tastes good. Today, the dal curry was amazing. Can I have some more dal curry because it tastes good? If that is your why is flawed. Your why must be flawed. Because why? Taste doesn't come from the dal curry. So why should you consume food? Now, in the monastery, we have if you at the monastery, when the monks are consuming their food, what do we always have playing? Pratyaksha, Patisanka yoniso, Pindapatam parisevami, Nevadava enmadayana. And what is this? That is the why. That is why. This is why we're consuming the food. Not for not for any recreational activities, right? Not for the taste, but entirely for what? The body. Because if you realize the reason why we eat food is for energy. It's for energy. I'm consuming this food for energy. For what? Energy for what? Why do we need energy? To sustain life, and especially, why do we consume food? Why do we all consume food? For our own salvation. Hold up. Not our own salvation. For salvation. For Nibbana. That's our why. That's our why. This is why we consume food. Not because it tastes good, not because it tastes awful, right? Not because it's too much salt, too little salt, perfect amount of salt. It's because of one thing and one thing only, to preserve the body. because of the food that we consume. Now, you can almost think of the tongue to be almost, it's, well, you'll always taste, and tasting is not a bad thing. Now, I'm not against taste. Everyone likes to. Defiled minds will always want to taste. However, when you taste, you should always understand what? That this is anicca. This is cause and effect. Causes come together to give rise to what? The effect. Causes come together to give rise to the what? The effect. The effect of taste. That's why the Buddha has said several occasions that, and also Guru Handru and his sermons have always said that treat food like medicine. This is a medicine for your ailing body. Your body is ailing. Why is it? Because it's hungry. Hunger is a what? It's an illness, not a luxury. Hunger is an illness. You are sick. When you are sick, do you choose what paracetamol you're taking? I like this paracetamol, don't like that one. Oh, I like the pink ones, I don't like the gray ones. Do you choose when you're sick? You go to the doctor and say, "Doctor, I'm sick. Help me." Doctor will give you medicine, say, "Take this 3 times a day." Do you think, okay, I've taken a paracetamol, like 2 hours ago. Should I take it out? Should I take it now because I still feel this headache? Did I tell you the story about the friend I had, accomplice I had? No, did I not tell you that story? It's a good story. Now, I once, when I was in school, I had a friend, an accomplice, not a friend. I don't know the person personally, but he was a person I knew. He had a headache. And so his parents had given him a card of paracetamol. Now, he was in his, can I call it the stupid era of when they do things without thinking. And so I remember in the maths lesson, his headache was going worse, and so he had 2 paracetamols, like he's supposed to. 5 minutes go by, and he says, "It's not working." Right? So what does he do? He takes another 1 more. I think another 2-3 minutes go by. My headache's getting worse. Another 2. And some more. And yes, because he was in his stupid era, he did things that you could say could have been seen to act out another activity that would have not been gone. Anyway, eventually I think he had to leave the school in a hospital, in a ambulance. Why? Because I'm sick. He didn't see medicine to be medicine. He said medicine was a toy for him. Food is what? A medicine. You have to understand that when you're consuming it. No matter what the medicine tastes like. Do you remember when you were younger, medicine, they used to have, what do you call them? Syrups. And there's always that one syrup that tastes like strawberries. Right? There's another one that tastes like bananas, but no one likes the bananas, we like the strawberries. And so when when your parents give you like 1 bit, you go like a tiny bit more. And because mothers love their children too much, they're like, okay, have a small bit more. even though it tastes good, or it gives a taste, not tastes good, it gives a taste. We have to understand it's medicine. If you have too much medicine, what happens? You have side effects. If you don't take enough medicines, what do you have? Side effects. If you take the wrong medicine, what do you have? Side effects. See, understand that your body is sick. That you are hungry. That's a sickness. Eat for the body, not eat for the mind. Eat for the body. Because if you have too much, now the body will give rise to side effects. Like what? Cholesterol, diabetes, right? The two most major health conditions in all of Asia, right? And then blood pressure. And then these can be fatal, right? Death is also a side effect. If you have too little food, now what? Again, low blood pressure, faintish, dizziness, tiredness, lack of, then you become sleep deprived, and death. You take the wrong medicine, so you know this food is not good for you. For example, you are diabetic. Now, this is not saying about anyone, right? But you are diabetic, but you like sugar. Now what? Are you taking the right medicine? So food is what? Food is medicine. Some medicine that we have to take very, very aware. You have to be aware of the medicine you take. That you're taking it as a medicine, not for the taste. Now, this doesn't mean you should not have, chocolate or ice cream. Those are also what? Medicines at specific times. You're having a meal, and after the meal you have an ice cream. That's fine. However, if you go looking for the ice cream, now it's gone from medicine to a drug. If you, after a meal, I know that some people have this, like after a meal that mouth tastes weird. So they like to have something sweet. Is that physical illness or a mental illness? So you tell me. If you don't treat medicine right, because ladies and gentlemen, we only have this one body. You lose this body, now what? Now you have to wait for the next one. When will the next human body come by? When? Another 1-2 billion years. You only have this one body. Take care of it. Now that doesn't mean do anything extra. When you take when you're taking a meal, take it like a medicine. So coming back to it, why are you taking a meal? I'm taking medicine for my ailments. Okay, now let's think of another one. Why am I helping someone? Why am I helping? Oh, okay. Why am I sweeping the dhamma? Why? Why do we do all these merits? What for? For who's Nibbana? For Nibbana. Because if you say for my Nibbana, what are you re-emphasizing here? Oh, I'm here, right? I don't care about all these other people who are suffering, right? Don't care about them. I want to Nibbana. No, you want to do merits for Nibbana. See if you can do merits for Nibbana. And don't take it just for words. Because words are just words. Words are like, sand. They're like worthless. But do you have the feeling? Just imagine someone who you are, say, your fellow Sila Shravika, Shravika, Siluvasi, fellow Anagarika, fellow monk, or whoever, someone that you know, right? Let's say they somehow excel beyond you. So you're currently looking at the anicca nature of things, and they have somehow understood that, and now they're looking at something else. And they have gone past you. See if inside you have this, this minute amount of jealousy. Like, we were there together, but now this person is has more of understanding. If so, you don't understand Nibbana. Because who's Nibbana? No, that's the wrong thing. It's Nibbana. Nibbana is what? The the removal of ignorance. Whose ignorance? Whose ignorance? You can't say that. There's no ignorance. You can't say this is my ignorance, this is your ignorance. No, it's ignorance in general. We have to get rid of ignorance. So, why should you be doing what you are doing? For Nibbana. So, you had your so-called homework from 2-3 weeks ago, and which was what? As you're doing something, remember who, what, who, why, and how. There you go. Who, why, and how. No matter what you're doing, try to ask yourself who, why, and how. That was your homework 3 weeks ago. Hopefully, even in the holidays, your 2-day holiday, you still had a chance to ask yourself who, why, and how. Even at this moment, you should be able to ask yourself who, why, and how. Who's talking? Who's listening? Why, and how? Because a lot of people say, when I'm talking with someone, I can't practice the path because I have to be like focused on what they're saying. True. I agree. You should focus on what they're saying. But while they're talking, just ask yourself, who? Just ask yourself the simple question, who? Who's talking? Because you can still listen to the words. You can still understand what they're trying to say. But if you have an answer to who, then there's an issue there. Because now you have someone that you're listening to. That you have, it's them. I'm listening to this person. This person has been through all these problems. Who? They have. See them as a mind. So again, who, why, and how. Ask these questions over and over and over again. Remember, it's not about it's not about how many you do. It's not about quantity. It's about the quality. Do it consistently every single time. Because that's the one thing that we don't have. Well, I can say I don't have. I don't know about all of you, but I don't have. It's consistency. You do it one day, you do it twice, and then something else. Honey, please. I did that for a week, so I know. So can we have something else? Consistency. It's only if you're consistent do you have an effect. If you don't do that, there is no effect. Because why? Causes have to align. Nibbana is the aligning of causes. You have to accumulate the causes to become causeless. You have to accumulate the causes to become causeless. So put them all into action. And I also have another question that I have to answer as well, which is, does the chitta and mind, are they the same? So when we talk about the mind, we're talking about something in a very, we've generalized it all and we've said that this is what the mind is. And a chitta is a mind, a moment in that. This is our representation, our universe representation of what? The mind. Does the mind look like something jumping up and down? No. However, this is how we represent it. Okay, don't, in the Buddhist time, the Buddha says, Padaparama, people who are Padaparamas, or people who hang on to words, can't attain Nibbana. Same thing with images and models. Because this is not the mind. This is the way we represent the mind, but this is not the mind. Okay. So one of these is a chitta. When you connect these mind moments together, we have the mind. So we don't really have a mind in general. We only have one mental moment at a time. We have only one chitta at a time. But when you put them all together, we have a mind. So you can almost say only beings, and beings meaning a fixed entity, has minds. So again, we're talking about this one, because one mental moment at a time. However, then you get then you can say, well, a mind without ignorance, or with or without ignorance, is also a chitta. But a mind with ignorance, we can call it a vijnana. So that's another thing that similar to this. And I do have an announcement to make as well before we conclude. And that is, we've been having Dakineyo Panchansanta Mahapuja for how long now? Almost a year and a bit? No, not 2 years yet, right? Nearly 2 years? Nearly 2 years. And next Saturday is a very special one. Does anyone know why? I was told that flyers have been sent out in the WhatsApp group. But what is special about next Saturday's Dakineyo is that it's conducted by everyone who listens to the English sermons, the Gateway sermons, and any of our English sermons done in English. So you know how we have Dakineyos for like in Italian, and we have Dakineyos in we don't have Greek, no, but other countries. Right? This Dakineyo is for all of you, everyone who's listening, right? So those of you who are online as well, that Dakineyo is entirely dedicated for our English listeners, for people who can speak English. So again, please join. Some of you don't have a choice. That's against it. But those of you who can, please do join, right? Because this is one of the most meritorious things you can. it's not just the meritorious, it's not just one of the meritorious things. It's something that you will always remember. Because you are giving an offering to 100, or actually over 100 sons of the Buddha who are practicing our monks. After consuming the meal, what do you think they do? They spend every breath doing something for what? For Nibbana. Who's Nibbana? Question's wrong. For Nibbana. For their own salvation and salvation of all sentient beings. So if we come back to what is fair, right? Well, you have the idea of giving. Vipaka Shakti, the Vipaka energy, chooses who you're giving it to. And you're giving it to sons of the Buddha who are practicing the path for the liberation of themselves and for all sentient beings. So again, this is an invitation for everyone. Those of you who can attend in person, please do. Highly recommend it. It is something that, because when you talk to people who've been in Dakineos, especially the first ones, they are amazed at how amazing you all are. Because something that a lot of people say is not just about the monks. It's about everyone there. Because everyone, very rarely do you see a group of people come together a large group of people come together to perform such a meritorious activity. The only time you'll see lots of people come together are riots. We don't have riots in the monastery. Right? Riots, or what do you call it? Political. What do you call those? Huh? The political demonstrations, right? And well, none of that in the monastery. Everyone is dedicated to do one thing and one thing only. Is what? Merits for Nibbana. I think that's one of the most special things you'll ever see, is when a group of people come together only for one purpose. Nothing, no one, I know no one in this room has something else in their mind. I want to attain a Nibbana and also get a new car. I don't think so. Or I want to attain Nibbana and also get a mansion. I don't think anyone here would like any of that. Because everyone here is dedicated for one thing and one thing only. What is that? Nibbana. And that is a power that the universe won't be able to handle. The universe is handling it so far. For how long will the universe handle it? We'll see. So again, it's an invitation to all of them. So those of you who, I think maybe we are broadcasting that online. Do we know? I think it may be broadcasted online for those of you who may not be able to be there in person. So please, but I do highly recommend coming in person. Right. So we got our props for today as well. So thanks to our kitchen. I won't call them staff because they don't stay in the kitchen. So the kitchen in general, thanks to the kitchen in general for the props today. So now you can never eat a chili without understanding what. My mouth is burning, but there's nothing to burn here. My mouth is feeling sour, but there is no sour here. Right. Before we conclude, do we have any questions? Okay. Emotion and sensation. Okay, let's I will briefly go over it now, and then I'll give a better explanation or a more expanded explanation next week, because we're running out of time. Emotion and sensations. So if we were to define what an emotion is how we react to something. So for example, I throw a chili at someone. Action. Don't worry, I won't do that. Right? I won't do that to you. But if someone to throw a chili at someone, that's an action. The way we respond to it is our emotion. So for example, if it's, say, someone that you recognize, sometimes you just feel annoyed. Right? That's an emotion. Or you feel angry. That's an emotion. The sensation would be the contact. Meaning, when this comes and hits someone on the head, this hitting the head would be the sensation, or the mental sensation as well. When the mind arises, that's the sensation. However, after that initial sensation, when the mind arises, it comes with emotion. So we can't change sensations unless you somehow get rid of your senses. But you can always change your emotions by understanding what is happening. Not that you become emotionless, but negative emotions, anger, frustration, depression, fear, and all that, you can change, because it's. But you can say that so well. Isn't emotions a primal instinct that we all have? Like, for example, fear. Isn't that something that is inbred into our minds and DNA? The fear. Okay, if you're in a forest and you see an elephant run down, you feel scared. However, if you're in a forest and you see a pillar roll down a hill, are you scared? No, but still, you're seeing the same thing, seeing something come towards you. However, one is going to do harm, and you're scared for your life. So fear is dependent. Fear is dependent on causes. Get rid of the causes, you will no longer have fear. Same thing with anger. Anger is also cause. Everything is cause and effect. So when someone feels emotions, or when someone feels big emotions like anger, frustration, or any sort of emotions, it's fair they feel that. It's fair they feel that. Why? The causes come together to give that feeling. By changing the causes, they will no longer feel that feeling. That's the thing, right? So sensations we can't change. So we're not trying to change sensations. What we're trying to change is how we respond to those. By understanding reality. Does that make sense? Okay. Is there any other questions or any other questions? No? Then let's take a few moments to transfer our merits and conclude for today. Let's take a few moments to transfer all the merits we've acquired by making offerings to the infinite virtues of the Noble Triple Gem, chanting periods of listen dharma, and engaging in various meritorious deeds a day. So first and foremost, let's remind ourselves how incredibly fortunate we are to be in receipt of Lord Buddha's teachings. And with immense gratitude, let's transfer the message to the Bhikshu, Bhikshunis, Upasakas, who since time immemorial have protected and preserved the sublime teaching of the Buddha and passed down to the generation of the noble lineage in the form of the Tripitaka, which is thankfully available to us today to study, to understand, to comprehend Dhamma. Let's also take a moment to transfer all the merits to all the members of the Mahasangha present throughout the world, including all the chief prelates of all the chapters, who have dedicated their lives to no path and committed themselves to betterment of all sentient beings. Let's not forget, among them will be the monks and nuns residing in local temples and nunneries, who have always been by your side through thick and thin, come rain or shine. Let's also take a moment to transfer merits to Guru Sanansi as well as of the monks resident in the monastery, as well as the anagarikas attached to the monastery. Let's all take a moment, transfer merits, and express our gratitude to those who made great effort to disseminate the teaching of the Buddha, be that by transliterating sermons, sharing them out with others, inviting others to join them. May the power of merits, if any have been born in the world of flame, may they redeem themselves and be born in the bliss of flame. May by the power of merits, may they abstain from their meritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble eightfold path, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let's all take a moment, transfer merits that we will acquire to our devotees, friends of the monastery who forsake of merits, continue to sustain the Mahasangha. This includes every one of you who contributed to the construction of the monastery, to those of you who provide the Mahasangha with shelter, alms, roads, medicines, to those who pass their know-how to extend their wishes. May the power of merits, may they abstain from the meritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble eightfold path, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So let's take a moment to transfer merits to our mothers, fathers, husbands, wives, brothers, sisters, sons and daughters, grandparents, uncles, aunts, cousins, nephews, nieces, our elders, friends, and acquaintances, employees, and to all who have helped us, supported us, assisted us in shape or form. By the power of these merits, may they be healed and physical mental ailments, may they overcome many obstacles in their spiritual progress, may they abstain from their meritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble eightfold path, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. There's also demon transfer merits of devas, brahmins, spirits, demons, primarily the Sakadeva, as well as humans, gods, and deities who are committed to protect and fulfill the Sambuddhasasana. Let's not forget among them will be our garden deities who keep a watchful eye over us and keep us out of harm's way. May the power of these merits, may they prosper in divine power and wisdom. May they abstain from their meritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble eightfold path, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. We'll also take a moment to transfer merits to our ancestors who have predeceased us, to all who's been friends and family to us in this infinite long journey from Samsara. Let's also take a moment to transfer merits to all those who have helped us, support, assist us in any shape or any way they could. So take a moment to transfer merits to all the members of the armed forces, was the police force, who have sacrificed their lives to protect the peace and harmony of our nation. May all those who've lost lives in the war be defended for. Rejoice in the merits we require today. Let's also take a moment to transfer merits to all those lost their lives in natural calamities such as tsunamis, earthquakes, landslides, pandemics, reminding ourselves among them will be those who have been friends and family to us in this infinite long journey from Samsara. May the power of the merits, if any have been born in the wolf plane, may they redeem themselves and be born in the bliss of plane. May the power of the merits, may they abstain from the meritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble eightfold path, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. And finally, let's all resolve, may the power and blessing of all the merits required throughout the day. We've been witness the advent of many hundreds of thousands of Arhat Mihin nuances in this blessed land itself. And finally, may through all the power of all the merits required through the day, you and I and everyone who made this program a success become a Arhat nuance or Arhat Mihin nuance in this very life in the era of the Gautama Supreme Buddha itself. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. May the blessing of Chipu Jen be with you. The Mahasangha will now transfer their blessings to you. Raga ginnen midetva, Dvesha ginnen midetva, Moha ginnen midetva, Nibbana parama sukhayin, Sukita taravetva, Nibbana parama sukhayin, Sukita taravetva, Mamada siyalu loka, siyalu satvayo, Nibbana parama sukhayin, Sukita taravetva, Nibbana parama sukhayin, Sukita taravetva, Nibbana parama sukhayin, Sukita taravetva. Raga gini niveva, Dvesha gini niveva, Moha gini niveva, Nivan sapa labeva. නිවන් සැප ලැබේවා නිවන් සැප ලැබේවා තුන්වන්ගේ සූසිය අනන්ත මහා ගුණ බැලෙන් සියලු ලෝක සියලු සත්‍යෝම නිබ්බාන පමසකින් සුඛතර වෙත්වා සාදු සාදු